All right, so I have Nelli Orlova, I found of InMind and CEO of Scaleswap. You probably already met her before with her speech. And I also have Abdul Rahman. He's ambassador at Polygon in Sri Lanka, and also venture analyst with the Crypto NFT deal flow. I also have a Stan Stolberg, a CTO of Scaleswap. It's an entrepreneur in blockchain information security. I do have a Ralf Gerteis, co-founder and CEO of Scaleswap, with us, and can't say anything more than just I'm welcome to see you on Yavin, a managing partner at Cointelligence.fund. Guys, welcome on board, and let's start.
Sounds cool. Let's start.
Cool. I hope the Russian Museum actually see and hear us, and we're not doing this just for fun. All right. I've got a couple of questions for you. Of course, you are representatives of the industry, and mostly from the venture capital industry, and probably a question to you guys, like, and go ahead, and who's going to be first answering that? So my main question is, like, how and where do you actually find investment opportunities in NFT sector? So who's going to take first? I believe Ralf. Ralf, you can do it. I know you can do it, and you can answer that question really, really explicitly.
Yes, yes and no, let's say. So I think everyone has his own strategy, channels, partners. You know, I think it's always a mixture. There is not one single source, let's say. It also depends on which stage that you are interested to collaborate and back a certain project. So if it should be very early stage, I think this is and you want to participate in seed rounds, I think this is the most challenging task. Then it's advisable that you have really good connections to all the big organizations that are doing grants. You know, that you have some people joining hackathons, you know, and stuff like this. I think the rest is then via connections, so that you say, hey, let's make an arrangement, you know, if you are coming across an interesting project, let me join, and I will do it the opposite. And the best option is for sure to look at InMind. So there are also portals where early stage ventures are supported, listed, and where they can present themselves at an early stage. If it's a little later stage, I think then there are also good channels on Telegram, but also on Twitter and wherever you can use various channels, let's say, where you can see the lineup of certain ventures. But if you then still have the possibility to join in an early round, it's the other question.
Anyone want to add something? Thank you, Ralf.
Absolutely, Ralf. Thanks a lot for giving this overview and featuring InMind. Thanks a lot. And how do we find investment opportunities also? Very, very good point you mentioned, hackathons. All the big players on the market, marketplaces, exchanges, etc., they are organizing hackathons, and big blockchain protocols as well. Binance Smart Chain regularly does good hackathons. Rarible does. I don't remember if OpenSea does anything, but I'm sure that they will do it if they are not doing it yet. So in these hackathons, you will find a lot of very good teams with burning eyes, these crazy entrepreneurs with great ideas, very good technologically prepared, and I know that this is a very good also source of the deal sourcing. At least on in mind, we receive the organic flow of the startups, but also when we see that in some specific use case or sector, we need to find some more. Another good opportunity is accelerators and the incubators. Quite a broad range of them you can find on the market. I will not name the names because I can name few, others will be upset that they were not featured. Just look at various incubators and accelerators that are working in specific sector, in this case for NFT and blockchain startups. I know that Cointelligence also has the kind of incubator of gaming NFT startups, but I'm sure that Yavin can tell more about that. Scaleswap also has its own incubation facilities. It's not a big one, so very few startups are incubated monthly there, but the best of the best of the best. And network, as Ralf mentioned, organically, not only in this sector, but also in the traditional sectors. Personal network is really an enormous source, but this is mostly for professional players, because when you are deeply into this sector, for example, working with the NFT and blockchain projects, looking for investment opportunity there, obviously all your network knows about that and brings you good deal flow. But if you are not professional player and newbie who is willing to join this sector, then obviously you can't rely so much about on your network. But you can start building it.
All righty. On Yavin, how's it going, mate? Do you want to add some? Do you want to join us?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for having me today. And I would say that probably networking, as Nelly mentioned, is the most important factor for us. We have about 24 different VCs and the other entities that we are collaborating with and sharing deal flow. And of course, beside that, you have the demo days and the other options for startups to present. It's a great place to find promising projects. And lastly, I would say that, of course, it all starts with, and it was already mentioned, but I would emphasize that as well, that you have to do your own branding. You have to make sure that projects will approach directly to you, but it's very difficult at the early stages, at the beginning, and it might take a while, and that's why you should rely more on networking and partnerships, and then as time passes by, you can work on your own branding and get direct approaches and inquiries from startups.
Okay, thank you, guys. But you know, when we talk about the projects, it's it's really huge. So it can be game, it can be some project that delivers some feature on the market. It also can be like a standalone, let's say, artist. And he also wants to participate and get some support and help. And let's say if we talk about the art, let's say I'm an artist, I'm drawing something, and I want to really dedicate myself to this kind of crypto industry, NFT. I want to create NFTs and be kind of a bit efficient in this kind of space. If we're talking about that kind of area and direction, which is really huge, so do you feel that it's also kind of in the scope of the venture capitals, like you're looking for that kind of project, and you also provide support in this area?
You mean if you are an artist, sole entrepreneur, sole artist, and
correct. Yeah, I'm creating my own. All right. Yeah, I'm doing this every day. I'm creating my own masterpieces, and I want to have them converted or be, let's say, efficient in this kind of space, an NFT, right? So if we're talking about that kind of direction or this kind of area, is it something like we can say as a project for you if you're looking to invest or support?
I would say that it's not the direct right place to ask venture capitalists to invest into one sole artist in order that this artist create his NFT, right? So it's not the real approach. It's better that the artist try to understand what it's a trend of digital art, and especially NFTs. Try to make his research, try to go to different platforms, OpenSea, and so on, and just have a look what is there. Let's take CryptoPunks. You know, this famous NFT sold for millions, and I mean, there is very low artistic or poor artistic representatives of this one, but they have been the first, right? So they have first mover advantage. And the artist needs, in my opinion, always to be innovative and try to find something what was not there, and use for this NFT. NFT is only a tool, but I don't see an artist like a sole entrepreneur who is who can do NFT marketplace. Rather, artist is a user of this marketplace.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. Let me like probably restructure the question. So if we got just going away from the sole trader, let's say as a standalone person, right? If we look at this as more like this, like the real great opportunity in this kind of area, and what kind of project from this area, like the artists, like the digital art industry, can be shaped, let's say, as a project for you guys be interested to invest?
Maybe I can take this one.
All right.
So I was pretty deeply, let's say, involved and also in analysis of the NFT space. At the moment, what the most common way, let's say, what artists are doing, they group up, let's say, in a certain team, and in quite a short time, they create collections of NFTs, mostly between 5,000 and 15,000 editions of it. Most of the time, they draw between 200 and 500 pieces that are put together by AI, let's say, and creating these unique editions of that artwork. This is at the moment done. I think there are daily 5 mints of 5 different projects. It's like a very trending area. For example, one of the most successful ones, Bored Ape Yacht Club. I think one of these pieces, I don't know exactly, but I think it's 40 ETH, the cheapest one, something like this. And these projects, they have normally not, they are normally not backed by venture capital. So they have a complete public sale, let's say, sometimes with a reservation phase, sometimes directly minting. So where they try to gather a community around the project, mostly on Discord, and then they are creating that demand, that excitement of the community, and then the community members need to do maybe some steps beforehand to apply, like a whitelist, and then they can finally mint a maximum amount of these NFTs. And with this principle, it's commercially pretty successful. So I think normally they make with such a project between 250K up to 5 million, you know, only with the mint. And then they have royalties on it up to 5%, which and these type of projects are normally always launching on OpenSea. So there are not other marketplaces so far involved in these projects. So this is a little bit kind of a scheme, you know, that's at the moment going on. Good players, not so good players in that field, but But there are also some good artists involved in one or the other projects. So this is what I can say. Let's say what's at the moment ongoing and what's the most trending concept of also commercializing the whole thing.
Yeah. So from my understanding of what you said, that it's more like it's just not like you drew something and put it like in a canvas and just come and say, okay, here you go, I want to get some money from it. It's more like to get a shape of it as a more like commercial project, or maybe in the shape of the community, and bring some value in it. It's more like to be a part of the project rather than be standalone as just the artist and represent yourself as a possibly from that stage with the unknown name, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And normally it has more meaning behind, or they try to give it more meaning sometimes. So it's not only the piece of art, you know, sometimes it's kind of a club, you know, sometimes it's an entrance to something. Sometimes you're getting fringe benefits, you're getting free drops of further NFTs. So you have certain benefits if you're owning one of these NFTs or several ones. And in addition, some of the projects have quite ambitious roadmaps, which you can then more call a project. So, for example, Boss Logic, one of the most famous NFT artists in the world, has his own one. It's called Blue. And it was starting exactly with such an NFT drop of gauntlets. And these are kind of the entry tickets in the future Boss universe, or it's more a metaverse. So there are often games also associated to this, and entrance to certain metaverse. And then it's getting, let's say, a broader sense, let's say, to make that. And some of the projects are then also releasing an own token. And in this case, it could get interesting, for example, for us as Scaleswap, also as an IDO launchpad. But only if it's, let's say, not only the art piece, but if it's really a project with an ecosystem or metaverse or whatever, and if they also involve an own token economy, then it's also possible to launch on Scaleswap. And I think then it's also possible to think of a further fundraising with VCs and funds.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that, Ralf. And I really understand that it's better be like really attached, right, to one of the project. Let's say how you can express yourself and bring the value, let's say, in one of the project and be a part of it and get some royalties from that, rather than be like a standalone artist and presenting there. Like, it's like you can do it, but you'd rather be attached to project or maybe multiple projects and get the revenues or royalties from it and be more successful. And probably this is where you can get your name more popularized, and then maybe you can start looking into direction, be yourself, right? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Otherwise, you need to have a name already. You know, you need to be influential. You know, you should have large social media following, or you should have in the non-crypto space. You should be pretty famous. You know, in a way. Then you have also a chance to do that alone, and you can go just on one of the marketplaces and have your own collection. If you don't have that, it's a very difficult path, let's say, to be successful in selling your NFT art.
But if I can add here, it's also in comparison with, let's say, traditional art sector. I'm not professional in this art sector, but just according to the general information, we all know that how hard it is for the newbie, for the new artist creator to get at least medium level of success on the traditional art. sector. You need a relationship with galleries. You need to invest a lot of time and a lot of money, or you need to have a sponsor who will sponsor your exhibitions, your galleries. You need to have catalogs. You need to interact with a lot of stakeholders in order just to feature you in certain events and exhibitions, etc. In that way, I think the NFT sector, the digital art sector, is much more democratic for the newbies. Yeah, you still need to invest a lot of time and energy, or money if you can hire some agency to promote you. But in the digital art sector, you need to promote yourself online. You need to tell a story, or to hire storytellers who will do it on behalf of you. You need to feature yourself, to build your public brand, and therefore you will gain this exposure, which will lead to some certain traction on this market. So I think that it's more democratic and it will cost less in the digital environment.
All right. Yeah, I just found the way how I actually can do that. So let's say in one game, you just go in the gallery and your mission is to buy a masterpiece. And all these pictures in your gallery in this game can be any digital art presented by independent artists or maybe well-known artists, and you have to buy it. And that's going to be your NFT. That's going to be attached to the game, and how the game is progressing, you'll probably get more value from it, instead of just creating your virtual, maybe, I don't know. Alrighty, it's good that we actually touched that area, and it's very, very sensitive area, and it's lots of opportunities for anyone else who can join, like, and do whatever they want to do and just be presented in the digital space and be attached to the NFT projects. But I just want to move forward, and just probably one of the main questions I have, let's say, all right, I've got my project and I've been really successful and you really like me. So, and how do you actually evaluate prospective, those kind of deals in the blockchain and NFT startups? So what do you actually do? What do you provide?
Hi, Mike. I believe that I can actually add something to it. Can I?
Should. Go ahead.
Yeah. So so I'm actually an investment analyst at InMine, and so when I actually have my initial session with the startup, I have my own flow that I actually evaluate these startups. So first, how I actually do is, first I actually start to understand what is the problem they're trying to solve. So that's the initial thing. And what is the solution what they're offering for this problem? That's the second thing. And third thing is the product that they are suggesting, their startup, the idea, how it's going to be the solution. And after that, the main thing is the team, where else, like how the founders are, how they are passionate about the project and what kind of skill set they have, their experience, and also talk about the traction, like what have you done so far? Okay, you're here, you're looking forward to raise fund, but right now, what have you done in terms of the resources that you have? So which is really important. And also the community, how they are planning to capture the community, and also the raise, how much are they planning to raise? After that, what are they planning to do with the money that they're raising, their roadmap? So these are kind of stuff that which I have actually funneled it down in terms of calls with startups. Yeah,
that sounds really reasonable, and I completely understand and on board what you said just now. And we're just moving on, and probably if there's anyone who wants to add,
may I add a few things?
Yeah, go ahead on.
So when analyzing a project, for us, it's the most important part is obviously the team. It starts with the team. It starts with the abilities of the team, the knowledge, the experience, and so on. And that's something that is relevant for traditional and the crypto space. Beside the team, of course, we have to make sure that the concept makes sense, that it's not just, it doesn't just sound great, but it's also relevant for reality. With regards to crypto specifically, you have everything around token economics, and that's very unique to the crypto space, of course. And it's something that we unfortunately see many projects fail with their planning or with their assumptions. And it's something that I think that founders of crypto projects should pay much more attention, and obviously not just copy paste what you see from other projects and then just decide to do something similar, even though it won't be relevant or won't be successful for that specific project. And lastly, beside everything else that I just mentioned, of course, if any tech is already developed, then it's very important to actually research and make sure that it's solid and not just to rely on what's being said. So that's like in a nutshell.
All right. I mean, really reasonable points, and thanks for that. We're moving kind of really into direction. Let's say, like you heard of the project, so you probably investigated the project, so you've done your research. So what are the actually red flags, let's say, that can potentially break the deal for all of you guys? What's the, like, let's say top 3?
So if you don't mind, I'll jump in and start. First of all, partnerships. We are seeing different projects updating their websites with different partnerships. And we've seen that phenomena during the ICO craze. It's happening all over again this year. And when we actually ask about these partnerships, and in some cases, I am even asking for evidence for these partnerships, you find that it's all made up. It's not real. There's no partnership. Sometimes it's with big 500 Fortune companies. Sometimes it's with well-known crypto companies, and so on. The second red flag is following what I said before about tech and about development. When you are asking to review the past experience of the CTO or one of the developers, and the team is just not able to provide any evidence for that. And we are talking about presentations that are claiming to have experience of many, many years for the CTO or the developer. So you do expect to see at least a few examples of developments that were done in the past. And the last third example is everything around the legal. Many projects do not consult with the right legal advisor before they decide where to start the company, how to start the company, and how to organize things in a proper way. And it's extremely important, especially since we are seeing that many of the ICOs are being indicted by the SEC. And already we are seeing now decentralized platforms being investigated by the SEC and so on. And I do expect to see many indictments, unfortunately. So it's really, really important to make sure that the legal is solid and the project is getting the proper advice.
Yeah,
All
that's a
right.
great point.
I wanted to add something to what Owen said. In many of blockchain projects, we see also anonym teams, and this is a very big first red flag. If the team is anonym, if the team is hiding, then there is a reason for this, and this is something what should not be. It should be very similar to traditional startups. The team should be present. The team is the core asset of the startup, not the technology, because technology is not there. every early stage startup lack on technology. It's early stage, but the team is something what has a potential to execute the roadmap in future. And therefore, the team is number one. And if the team is very good and can provide past records, and if it's all provable, then even if technology is a bit weak, we can look into this more deeply.
And just to follow up on the team aspect, what just Stan mentioned, we see a lot of projects that are, you can't call them 100% startups, because we see a lot of projects that are tokenizing their existing businesses, and they already have a proven business model, they already have a product, etc., but they are moving to the new for that sector, tokenized business model, utilizing NFT technology or others. And in these cases, of course, teams are not anonymous, but team expertise is lacking in the specific sector of tokenized economy, crypto, etc. And in that way, they can be super experienced in their traditional industries. But the red flag could be if they do not have enough expertise and understanding in-house, inside the core team, of how really to develop, grow business in this new for them environment. This is very, very widely seen case. And for such kind of teams, I highly recommend to get some expertise from outside. But not just advisors who have calls once per week or once per month, yeah, but just to hire experienced people, that's it. I see Ona also wanted to add something here.
Yeah, I wanted to to add something to what Stan said about the non-identified team members. Last week, I was talking to a project, and I was asking after the first call, and we had a chat, and then I asked them, okay, thank you for the call. Now for the next step, I'd like to know who are the co-founders. Because it doesn't say anything on the website and so on. So the founder is responding, oh, no problem, I'll send you the information. So he sends me a couple of images that obviously, for me, it was very obvious that two of the images were fake and first names, no full names. So it's unbelievable that these things are actually still happening. And the worst part is that there are actually investors investing in these projects. And that's unbelievable to me. I mean, how can an investor invest in a project that they don't know who the team is? And I'm just super emphasizing what Stan said. It's so unbelievable that it's happening.
Not every investor is smart, right? This is a proof.
Yeah, I think some are also really just spreading, you know, into the broad. They don't care if one is without visible team, one is not. So some are really just going broad, you know. But I also don't understand that strategy, because the problem is these projects, they are partially also really scam rug pull, or at least soft rug, you know. So they are really cheating the people and stealing their money. And the investors which then invested, they are, let's say, like evidence that this project is good, you know, for the publicity. And this is the main problem. I have no problem if they invest in everything, but it's kind of an indirect evidence for all the others and for the community. And this is the big problem.
Absolutely.
And therefore, do your due diligence every time. So if you are somehow connected, involved into the project, if you want to be an investor, every time do your own due diligence. Don't rely on outside.
Yes, absolutely. I have seen cases of investors that are investing exactly because of what you said, because of other investors investing, and they don't even bother to do the due diligence. And beside that, just to clarify, I think that it's extremely weird and unprofessional to invest in a project that you don't know who the team members are when you are investing through a SAFT agreement. If you're just buying the tokens on an exchange because it's already traded, then obviously I don't expect to do the same due diligence. But if you are completely relying on the team as the investor, then you should do the proper due diligence.
All righty. That's slightly moving into the next question to you guys. So that's all about the VC reputation and the co-investors. Let's say I've got someone investing in me, and how for you guys important the existing cap table for your decision? Like let's say if you look at the cap table, it's like what makes you feel and make your decision, let's say invest or not to invest, and can you actually reject investment if there is a, let's say, a dumper or on a startup's cap table? So if you feel not comfortable, but you feel or see as someone already invested, like exactly like you probably started already discussing that. So what makes you feel and what's the kind of the list of probably whitelisted maybe investors that you feel, oh yeah, if they kind of invested, that probably something good to look at, and I'll probably need to dig deep to understand, and maybe I can invest as well. So what made that decision for you?
And yeah, I can elaborate a little bit more on that, and I'm sure that all the other participants have a lot to say on this topic. But just as On said, there are investors who are jumping blindly just because other investors are already on cap table, and exactly the same happens when investors reject the project just because they see some name or brand name on cap table that they don't want to be associated with. The reputation by itself is super important, specifically in this sector. In all sectors, in all industries, reputation is an important factor. But in our field, it's kind of one of the number one, I think, things, because the dynamics of the whole sector is so fast. There is no years and years of background and public reputation and public track records. Information circulates very fast, and we are constantly observing the market. We are constantly keeping in touch with all the startups from the deal flow, even after they raised money, after they launched publicly. To understand how did the relationship with their investors on the cap table evolve, and what were were there any bad situations, were there any dumping activities? I would not tell any names about dumpers as you asked, because I don't think it's, maybe one can elaborate a little bit more on that. I don't know any public sources. Cointelligence made a lot of good reports on different scam and dumping activities, but I don't know one public blacklist of these, let's say, bad guys in the VC sector. But of course, the professional community knows internally and circulates internally the names of the companies that bring more harm to startups in their portfolio than good. And speaking about good investors, it's also the question that you should never take as it is like 100%. If this top tier investor, top tier is also weird meaning, yeah, because there are guys like Galaxy Digital, there are guys like Pantera, Polychain, etc., who were known to be top tier VCs, a kind of. But why so? Because just recently, let's say a year ago, the sector was immature. There were not that much good and smart and long-term investors in this sector. And of course, these few guys, they were the earliest ones who put their brand on public and made a good reputation and track record. But right now, I think, looking at their track record, at their fund performance, and comparing it with the relatively new funds that appeared maybe in the last couple of years on the market, sometimes the new funds perform way better and bring more value to the startups because they are not yet arrogant. They are fighting for the good deal flow. They are fighting for good startups. They bring not only money, but also expertise, advisory expertise, marketing support, PR, etc., etc., etc. And in that way, I would not recommend startups to blindly think, oh, I want this top tier investor because his name was featured in Forbes or somewhere else. Yeah.
Wow. All right. That sounds like you've got some competitive market around there in the VC space, right?
Quite competitive. But let's ask VC on what will you say on this topic?
So yes, I completely agree with everything that you said. We don't have a list of dumpers, but it's pretty easy to handle it. Basically, you just need to plan the right token economics for the fundraising. You need to release the tokens gradually. Most projects release tokens every few months or every month. I actually recommend projects to release the tokens on a daily basis, to have as small amounts as possible. If they don't want to do it on a daily basis, then a weekly base. And of course, if not that, then on a monthly base. But beside that, with regards to what you said about the VCs with the names, I completely agree with you. And it's unbelievable how much knowledge is sometimes missing. Even I'm not gonna name specific names, but even with top very well recognized names, and I'll even give you one example of a fund that I talked to about 2 months ago, and they specifically told me, yeah, we don't actually review the projects. We just invest following other investors. So that's exactly what they're doing, and they have a very, very good name and very good reputation. And so yes, so absolutely, as Nelly said, be very careful about choosing your investors. And if I mentioned before about doing the proper due diligence on the project, then yes, absolutely, founders of startups should do the proper due diligence on investors. And don't even get me started on investors that are scammers themselves. And we have too many of these in our industry, and they will promise you the moon. And of course, advisors. You have investors and advisors that they will promise you the moon, they will get tokens, and they will do nothing for you. So I highly recommend following Nelly's advice to do the due diligence on investors as well.
All right, thank you for that. And I know that we really talked much about the, like the kind of strategy of how you need to be sufficient in front of the venture capitalists, and what needs to be like, like the checklist, what you have to do and what you need to focus on. But my next question is more like technical, like, right? And let's say, I know the projects can be different, but you need to communicate somehow to the blockchain, because otherwise, how are you going to actually be successful and start getting money from it? So, and it's kind of like an open sea of different, let's say, protocols, so you can communicate to the blockchain and actually store the data. And the question is, let's say, I don't know, and I don't know what to start from, and what's the best for me, let's say, and what's the difference between the protocols? So probably maybe a question to you, Abdul, and you can actually share your experience and maybe some knowledge how to do that.
Mike, protocols as in, I didn't quite catch the question. Sorry.
Alrighty, I can explain to you in more detail. Let's say I have a project, and I need, because there's lots of protocols on the market, but not like thousands. I'm not saying that, but it's definitely tens of them, maybe, right? And they're not the same, right? But you need to pick one, or maybe some of them, or maybe a few of them, right? Just to make, let's say, your project more efficient. And it all will be depend on your project, because it can be your game, which can be a very, very deep RPG strategy game, or it can be something else. So you don't need that much protocol. So then you're kind of a bit lost if you don't know exactly what to choose from, right? And so what kind of advices you can actually say, or let's say, what's the first steps you need to go through to identify and, like, let's say, choose or pick the right one for your business?
First, we need to understand the underlying protocols that they have chosen in the first place in relation to their game or the idea. So first, we need to understand if the protocols are actually the right ones, because if you're actually built on the wrong protocol, then you really, it's going to be really hard for you to build a future towards it. And also in this space, interoperability is a main thing that we should actually look at, because when we actually, a lot of projects, they would want to expand into other protocols and follow these things as well. So in that context, they're laying the foundation. So if the foundation is not right, then I would advise them to reconsider and go back and build the protocol in an efficient manner and then come back.
Okay, so the main question probably, can I use more than one protocols in my project, right? Can I do that?
Yeah.
All right. So it's more like what you actually require, or what you need to express, or let's say provide the depth of your project and how many protocols that can be required that just actually help you out to actually provide those features in your projects and stuff like that. Is that what you're saying, right? So let's say it's going to be multi chain project, right? And it's fine. Okay, cool. So all you need to do is just to know what you're actually doing, and to pick the right protocol just to help you out to actually deliver the quality, right?
Exactly.
May I add here something? So because as a CTO, I have, let's say, a direct connection to the technical part, to the blockchains and protocols. So your question is how a project can choose the right blockchain as underlined.
Well, I mean, I would say how to what's the right way of picking the right protocol to communicate to the one blockchain or maybe multiple blockchains, right? That's the question.
Okay, so first of all, I hope that this project have good technical experience, or good CTOs, people who understand what they're doing really technically. It's the most important, crucial thing. Then if you select or choose a protocol, you need to look on the community around the protocol. And if you look, for example, on EVM protocols, so Ethereum-like protocols, you will see that basically Ethereum Foundation builds a ground base. It has among 20,000 developers. The technology is very solid and battle tested since many years. And therefore, other teams can come and take the technology and continue to build this. Like, for example, Polygon blockchain or Binance Smart Chain, which is exact copy of Ethereum. What I want to say with this, the protocol should have a very big community of developers around this. It's a main thing. If the protocol is very new, even if it sounds very fancy, very cool, the best of it, but there is no community around this, there are no developers around this, then it's high probably it's not good. Therefore, if you want to build an application which will work, you need to choose the best and known protocols. And I, of course, recommend EVM protocols, so Ethereum-like protocols, but also Solana. Solana is good.
There's something promising, right, on the market.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I heard of it. Yeah, and it's really promising. And I know that we all know that technical part is really vital for your project, and you need the right people to understand and really choose the right kind of choice for that to just really make that project efficient and successful, right? All right, guys. Sorry, we are really sorry. Ralf?
I just want to have a little addition. Very important, let's say, on the one hand, also the developer community, but what Stan said, but also the community that is then using also the app, you know. So if you have, there are certain protocols which are more prominent for DeFi. There are some protocols that are more prominent for industry solutions, you know. So therefore, it's also important to see who is at the moment using this protocol. So what kind of community can I expect if I launch my app on that blockchain? Because otherwise you have a great product, you are building on a strong protocol, but no one is using your app, and you're wondering why, you know, because simply the community was not there.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Ralf. And sorry, guys, but I need to just really wrap it up, and because we're really out of time and just probably a few minutes, just to kind of wrap it up and summarize. So what would you kind of, from my understanding, so advice to be kind of to make the NFT startup successful, right? So what's you guys what make you guys to look at this as a successful project for funding and fundraising? So I'll give you just like a few bullet points, and then just correct me if I'm wrong. So you need to have like a first, I know this by myself, so the team is everything. So you need to have a good team, right? And you need to a completely transparent understanding in the team what the project is like, and what's the benefit of the project, what's the goals, and what's the vision of it, right? The second thing, you need to understand the technical side. The technical side is a very important. This is like a probably 50 or maybe more % of success of your project, right? So also, there's a few bits and pieces to be a bit more efficient. You have to look what's going on in the market, like, right, to make your fit to that market and really maybe be something specific. So if we're talking about the startups itself, right? So if, let's say, if you just look at the in the dimension of the areas of the business, let's say, we know there's the gaming industry is growing really fast. It's probably the best fit. You can actually do some different things, and there's so many options around that. So if we look at the art or a digital art industry that was growing as well, and maybe it needs to get some shape of it, like as a project as well. So let's say at this point, what is like top 3 startups, let's say you really happily be looking at, or probably for investment or fundraising? So number 1 is what?
I would say NFT innovation.
Okay.
So we also have 2 projects in our pipeline that make out of NFT something new, you know. Using NFT as a capsule where you can have collateral and whatever in it, you know, combining that with vesting and unlocking and releasing, you know, the collaterals. This is just one example, you know. I think it's, and on the other hand, there's one project which NFTs have a little bit the problem of the regulatory side, licensing, you know. You have a JPEG, it's an NFT, but you know, where's the legal background, you know? So one of our startups is exactly tackling this, identity management, provenance management, having a proof, and if it's something physical, even having there also digital identity 100% match with a chip on that physical asset. So I think these are very important things that bring also the whole NFT space forward. Real innovation, in my perspective.
All right, thanks, Ralf, for that.
When you were asking about 3 startups, did you want us to name the names or what?
Really up to you, but it's more like to understand really the scope of it, you know, like it's something that connected to gaming and something to connect to, I don't know, maybe some digital creators or maybe content creators or anything like that. So it's more like not the names probably, it's more like the direct, I mean like this, like spheres or the part of the maybe different businesses or something like that. But guys, sorry for that, but that's it. We don't have time.
Oh my God, it's heartbreaking, really.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's a hard stop. It's a hard stop, and I have to say that because I've been pushing really. You don't see it, but I'm telling you. I know it's a long discussion. I'm happy to have you on board anytime soon, but unfortunately, we should follow the time frames we have.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And yeah,
Спасибо,
guys,
дорогие
that was
друзья.
a
Спасибо.
really good conversation.
Bye.
Really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.